Hey everybody, I'm Tracy.
And I'm Jay. Together we lead the South Orange County Church.
And welcome to our Connect video series where we are learning to be apprentices of Jesus. Each week we talk about something that Jesus said or did in order to glean something that we can add to our lives or take away from our lives to help us become more like him.
Right. We really do believe that it's important for us to get together once a week with our spiritual family. And at the beginning of the week on a Sunday, it just fits into everybody's schedule. And it's so good to come together at the beginning of the week and talk about Jesus and talk about how we can follow him. But it's really cool too to be able to do it with a community of people and with people around you, because then you discuss things with one another, you talk about things, and it really helps you to get different insights from it. So today there's small groups that are meeting all over South Orange County and that are talking about this message. And so we want you to just jump in, and if you're not a part of one of those, we would love for you to be a part of one of those, and stick around to the end. We'll tell you how to do that.
Yeah, so now let's just do it. So grab your journal and your Bible and let's get going.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And I'm really excited that you're with us today and excited to be talking about just some cool stuff that Jesus did. Jesus was really cool.
He was really cool. There's an understatement.
He did cool things, and following Jesus around must have been the most amazing way to live, you know. And
it still is.
It actually still is, which is really cool. So we're excited to talk about that today. I did want to just remind us that there's some really cool things coming up for us in our church. Next Sunday, we will not be having our Connect video series because next Saturday night, we're having a special evening with Marty Solomon on Saturday night. And then I am too. And then on Sunday morning, we're going to be meeting with almost the entire Orange County Church at the building at 11 a.m. So we are having almost a full regional service next Sunday morning, which is going to be awesome. And Marty Solomon is actually going to be preaching for us that morning. And so please make plans to come. If you're coming on Saturday night, be sure that you register. So we've got over 450, almost 500 people registered so far. And so I don't want us to run out of room for that. I don't want you to miss it. It will be live streamed, so you'll be able to watch it. And then Sunday morning will be live streamed as well. We're not going to have any Kids Kingdom on Sunday morning. And so you can bring your kids and have them with you. Or maybe one parent can stay home and watch it at home, and you can do it that way. You can live stream it.
Trade nights, like husband on Saturday, wife on Sunday, something like that.
Right. But we're also excited because on that day, the 24th, is the grand opening of our new teen lounge.
Yay!
And
have been hard opening, yeah.
Right. We've been working hard to kind of get it ready, and the teens were in there last Sunday, and we just had a ball. But this coming Sunday, the North teens will be with us, and the Central and the South, and the Korean ministry, and so we're going to have a great time. But we're going to do the grand opening after the service. So the service will go from like 11 to 12:30, and then all of our high school teens and junior high people are going to be invited to stay afterwards for a lunch, and then each group will be able to hang out. So only the high schoolers can come into the teen lounge. But it's going to be a grand opening. I'm sure everybody will be able to come in and see it. So you can plan on that. So that will be next Sunday after service from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the building. We'll be able to stay up there, have some food, play games, do all that kind of thing. So that's next Sunday. Then I wanted to...
You think they can take in more?
Yeah.
Seriously?
They're so smart, honey.
Okay.
You underestimate them. You underestimate
No, I don't.
them.
I love you. I love all of you. No, my brain can only hold so much information.
Okay, but this is important for our married people. We are halfway through our Making Marriage Simple series, and I'm really, really proud of so many of you. The stories that I'm hearing, the conversations that are happening, the connections that are being made, the brave and courageous way that many of you are engaging with your marriage is just so inspiring. And I wanted to thank you for doing that. And I also know that the 1,000 Gifts class has been going awesome, and you can never go wrong with that. So that's awesome.
Okay.
But for our married folks, we're ending up our Making Marriage Simple class just in time to go to the marriage retreat with Michael and Mary Shapiro. And I really wanted to urge you to sign up for that retreat. Earlier this week was when kind of the cutoff was to get our date, or to get our discounted price, our rate. But they did extend that, which is good. But at the same time, they've also opened up those rooms to the public. So if you want the discounted rate on your room,
and it's a big one.
It's a big discount.
It's half.
So, but you need to go ahead and register for that. That's November 12th through the 14th. But this is a marriage retreat that you don't want to miss. You do not want to miss these classes.
Professional,
these guys are amazing. And
Seriously.
they have been counseling marriages and helping families for 30 years. They have so much insight, so much wisdom. And this will absolutely help you. There really is not anything else that you could do that weekend that would be better than coming here.
Yes.
So please register for that. Even if you have to change some of your plans or move some things around, I really want to urge you to do that because I feel that strongly about it. I think it will really help.
Yeah.
So with that was it.
Okay. I think that's enough.
That's enough. There's other things, but please read the Weekly Wave. It comes out on Tuesdays, and you'll be able to see all the cool stuff that is going on in the South Orange County Church. So last week, we were talking about the feeding of the 5,000, and when Jesus is with his disciples, and he has this moment, this great teaching moment with thousands of people there, and the disciples are like, "What do we do?" But it's this beautiful picture of Jesus saying, "I'm going to interpret the law. I'm going to take the Torah, and then I'm going to give it to you, and then you are going to give it to the people." And you are going to feed the people. And I want you to feed them. I want you to find something for them to eat. I want you to give it to them. Jesus could have done it himself. He could have magically made it so that everybody just had food in their basket.
Exactly.
But instead, he took this representation, the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, the representation of the law, and then he gave that to his disciples, who then gave it to the people.
And just the partnership of that in itself, just that God wants us to be a part of his miracles.
Right.
He doesn't want to just poof things into existence. He wants to do them through us.
Right.
And that's just a really cool thought.
It really is. But it's also so empowering. It's like this is the life that God wants us to live, is working with him and being a part of what he does. And such a great teaching moment for the disciples too. But then the story that happens right after that, so everybody eats, and then they're probably all going to settle down. Jesus dismisses the crowd, and then he puts his disciples in the boat. He sends them across the lake, and he goes up on the mountainside to pray. And there's this really cool thing that happens. And so this is the story that we want to talk about today. All right, so in Matthew chapter 14, verse 22, it says, "Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. 'It's a ghost,' they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, 'Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid.' 'Well, Lord, if it's you,' Peter replied, 'tell me to come to you on the water.' 'And come,' he said. And Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, 'Lord, save me.' And immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. 'You of little faith,' he said, 'why did you doubt?' And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. And then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, 'Truly, you are the Son of God.'" So this happens, like we said, immediately after the feeding of the 5,000 on the same night. And I was really thinking about how Peter must have been encouraged by this idea that Jesus had said, "Here, you give them something to eat. I want you to take what I'm giving you, and I want you to share that with other people." Because it, like we said last week, it wasn't like the disciples were just the waitstaff. This was a significant thing for them to take the loaves and the fish and distribute it. They were understanding what Jesus is teaching them, that they are now a part of this. And so now here, Jesus is walking on the water, and then Peter has this moment of like, okay, then I want to do that too.
He's trying to be like his rabbi.
Right.
I think it's just so interesting because we've been talking about this, how to be with Jesus, as we started off with all those, the practices of silence and solitude and fasting and all that, being with him. And then we talked about how to be like him and putting things into practice.
Right.
And then last time we talked about doing what he did.
Right.
And this is Peter trying to do what he did.
Right.
He's trying to, let's do
Right.
this. He's trying to put everything into practice. And it just reminds me of us, because this is us trying to,
Right.
okay, God, because you get really inspired,
Right.
by something. You're like, okay, I'm ready. I want to do something, So
Right.
I picture that.
I do too. And then, so here he is. He's like, okay, so tell me to do it. And can you imagine what
No.
that would have felt like?
No.
To be able to get out and all of a sudden you're walking on water and you are moving towards Jesus and you are doing this. It reminds me of the passage in John where Jesus says, you're going to do even greater things than I have done. You're going to be able to do this. And so here comes Peter and he's walking. And then the wind, which was already there, he started to get distracted and afraid of the wind. And so he started to sink. And, so often we can look at this and go, oh my gosh, he started to sink. And even if you read, what Jesus said, you have little faith, why did you doubt? There's so many ways that you could interpret that. Like what was the tone of his voice?
No.
What was he smiling when he said it?
Right.
That's how I like to envision it. It's like, oh man, you were doing so good.
Yeah.
You almost had it, man. Why did you doubt? That was awesome. Wasn't that awesome? That's how I like to envision it. But I don't know.
Really know.
And the text doesn't really give us much more insight into that. But so Jesus is like, you could do this, and it was when your doubt started to creep in that then you started to sink. And I also find it really interesting that Jesus easily can stop the wind, right?
Right.
There's all the other stories of when he's sleeping in the boat and he gets up and he calms the wind. He just says, be still, and the wind stops. Because when Jesus is up on the mountain praying, he's watching his disciples on the boat and they're straining against the oars because the wind was against them. So he's watching the wind. He could have from the mountaintop.
Yeah. Calm it down around here before I, get on the lake.
Yes, but and for himself, but also even for them, for the disciples.
Yeah.
Like he could have made it easier for them, but he didn't. God doesn't always calm the wind in our situations. God doesn't always just come in and make things easy. And sometimes it's working against the wind, and sometimes it's pushing through the challenges where the biggest lessons can happen. But so often in our prayers, we're like, just take away the wind, take away the wind, take away the wind.
Fix this, fix that, fix this, instead of fix my eyes on you.
Right.
Fix my eyes on you. Because it's really interesting how you just said, the wind was already there.
Right.
But because he was so fixed on Jesus, he didn't even notice it anymore.
Right.
And we know that this happens when people can do amazing things when their adrenaline kicks in or whatever it is that response where you don't notice that your leg is broken or that you're, bleeding because you got to save your kid or whatever, because that kicks in. You don't even notice what's going on because you're so fixed on that. And I feel like it's interesting that Peter, as long as he was fixed on Jesus, nothing else changed.
Right.
No circumstance changed. And I know that to be true in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm telling you, everything can be exactly the same from one day to the next. And I'm at the pit of despair.
Right.
I'm at the top of the mountain.
Right.
Absolutely nothing's changed. I think it's where we put our focus, what we fix our eyes on.
Right. And it's also so easy for us to focus on the moment that we sink rather than focusing on the moment where we stepped out in faith.
Yeah, exactly.
Because here Peter did this amazing thing that none of the other disciples apparently did.
And they did never do.
And right. It's not like that then became a part of what the disciples did and you hear Paul walking on water and those kind of things. So here's this moment where Peter has this incredible faith and steps out. Mm-hmm. And then he got distracted and he got afraid and he sank and Jesus was there and pulled him up into the boat and then continued to teach him. But he walked on water. He stepped out. Mm-hmm. And this, I think, is what can happen to us so many times as well, is that we can start to focus on our failures and we can start to focus on the moments where we give up faith and where we lose faith, rather than realizing, oh my gosh, there was a moment yesterday where I was walking in the Spirit. I was totally walking with God. I was faithful.
Notice it.
I believed it. It was awesome,
good.
And so I'm gonna hold on to that. And I'm not just using that as an example. That's actually true, because yesterday was spiritually a really good day. And then at the end of the night last night, a couple things happened and it totally threw me off course. And, but as I was going to sleep and as I was waking up this morning, I kept thinking, but remember what it felt like to walk with the Spirit. Remember what it felt like to be spiritually connected. Remember what that felt like, because that's what you can do again. Now what Satan wants me to do is go, remember how you gave in to fear. Again. How many times are you going to do this?
You'll never get this.
You're such a loser.
Falling. Yeah.
You always do this. But instead, I'm trying to train myself to focus on the fact that I got out of the boat and I walked on the water, and I was trusting Jesus and I was walking with him. And I'm trying to keep my mind on that, because that's what I can get back to. And that's where I can come, where I want to come back to.
Yeah, and I think it's just anytime we do something and get out of the boat, anytime we have a moment of faith and we're like, yes, because you hear a great sermon, you're like, I'm going to go change the world,
Right.
you have this, and you get this idea. God gives you an idea.
Right.
And then you put it into action, and then what happens? Well, anything can throw me off course. This is it's really true. It really does surprise me how little it takes. Like last week I was talking about how I was like, okay, I'm going to do my pumpkin party.
Right.
And then I got derailed because I couldn't find the right paper. And it's sort of embarrassing, because that was just such a little thing, but it threw me off course. But I will tell you, I got back up. Because that's the other thing, is that, it's not you getting yourself up. Jesus will pull you up.
Right.
Jesus is there, and we get trained by it, like by falling, like a toddler. We fall, but our mom helps us. We see our mom's always meeting our needs. That's God. We learn how to have him pick us back up. So I have my invitations right here.
Okay.
Okay, I had to make them. I found these old stickers I had in my scrapbooking stuff, and I was like, well, and some old paper, and I just made my own. So today, I'm taking my invitations out to my neighbors, and we're gonna have this pumpkin party. But it's just, no matter whatever you're doing, even trying to do anything good, Satan is gonna come, and he's gonna start blowing the winds in the wind. He's gonna start messing with it, even just on a Sunday.
Right.
Like, you think about you guys who are leading small groups, small gatherings. Think about all that's against you. You know, you get up on a Sunday and it's going to be great. We're going to have our small group, and then you're trying to get your teen out of bed, and that doesn't go well. And they finally get out of bed, but then they're grumbling. And then you realize that you have an ant invasion in your kitchen, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to take all this food out. What's with the ants, people? That's what I'm honestly. So you realize you have an ant invasion, so now you're spraying down, and then you're trying to get, oh my gosh, I forgot we don't have any more communion. I keep meaning to send that text. I don't have communion. Okay, all that stuff coming against you. And then you even have people in your group possibly grumbling about how the group goes, or I don't like this about it, I don't like that about it, or whatever.
Where you're meeting, when you're meeting.
And then you've got, then you start thinking, and is anybody coming anyway? I don't even think, no one even joins us. We don't, this isn't working,
And then you forgot to watch the video.
Yeah.
You're trying to get to the service. You're like, oh, I didn't even watch the video. Wait,
I'm supposed
what are we
to
supposed
lead
to talk
the
about?
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. This is how the wind and waves work.
Right.
This is how Satan works.
Right.
And, just going, okay, I fell. I was about to drown, and then Jesus pulls me back up. We just get there, and Jesus pulls us back up. Anytime you want to do something good, you can expect that you're actually going to fall down a couple times.
Right.
And you have to kind of get good with that. That's what being an apprentice is.
Right.
Being a disciple, following him. You have to expect that the times where you're going to be sinking, and he's going to pull you up.
So what we want all of us to be able to do this week, what we want to put into practice this week, is just deciding to get out of the boat again. And choose to focus on the fact that Jesus says, yes, come to me. Yeah, I will be with you.
Come on.
And that Jesus is wanting you to step out on faith again. And rather than focusing on the ways that you failed, or the possible ways that you failed, or how people are going to think about you or anything else, just choose to get out of the boat. So for you, there's probably something that you have felt this week, like, okay, I want to do this for God. I really want to do this. Or even what we've talked about the last few weeks, like I still want to take a day and take an hour and just go be with Jesus, and I want to try that. Or take a day where I'm setting my alarm at every hour to remind myself to be aware of my connection with Jesus. Maybe, you never did that, but you're like, I do want to do it, and I don't want to just let it go.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's somebody that you want to invite to come to hear Marty Solomon next week.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's just a friend that you know is really hurting, and you're like, I really want to talk to them about God, and I want to share the faith that I have with them. And so maybe there's something there that you're wanting to do, and I want you to think about what that is, and I want you to write it down.
Yeah.
And right now, it is even kind of bouncing around in your head. It's playing at the corners of your mind. There's something that God is putting in there that he knows that you are wanting to do. There's a way that you're wanting to step out on faith and trust him. And so I want you to write that down and think about that. And then I want you to choose to step out of the boat and just do it. And if it goes wrong, if it doesn't go well, that doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that this is one more opportunity to be able to put your trust in Jesus again and then do it again. Because remember, this is what Jesus was trying to teach his disciples, is that you can do this. I'm going to take the word, I'm going to interpret it, I'm going to show you what the word is supposed to be, and then I'm going to give it to you, and now you can do this.
Amen.
This is what walking with God is going to be. This is what following Jesus, being his apprentice, means, is that we continue to try to do what he did. So I'm really excited just to hear how this resonates with you guys this week, and some of the things that you're able to do, some of the ways that you're able to kind of step out of the boat and put that into practice. So look forward to that. You know, we're really excited as the year is coming to an end about meeting together and being able to see one another. I'm excited about next Sunday. I'm excited about November the 7th, which is another regional service. And then I'm excited for the South Orange County Church that we're going to be having our Advent services, the 4 weekends before Christmas. And we're going to gather together at 4:30 p.m. on Sundays, and we're going to focus on celebrating the coming of Jesus and really experience that holiday in a spiritually focused way. And so I'm excited about that. And then looking forward into 2022 about being able to have services together and when we want to be able to do that. So I'm really excited about that. Now, like we mentioned last week, and like I sent out in an email last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, this is going to take all of us in the South Orange County Church deciding that, hey, I'm going to step in and I'm going to do my part to help. And the culture that we want to have here in our church is that our Sunday gatherings, this is when we all come together. It's a family dinner where we come together and participate, and then we invite guests to come. But the guests are the one who come in to do nothing. The rest of us are coming in to do something, right?
Sign up for your...
And so this is just the best way for a church to operate, is when everybody goes on Sundays, I help. There's something that I do to help make the Sundays run. So I sent out an email last weekend and just giving you all of the different options for people to be able to volunteer and say, hey, I'll be in this group, or I'll be in this group, or I'll be in this group, and this is the way that I can volunteer. And I did have a couple people email me with some other things that I had forgotten about or not had on there. And so we're having discussions about the security team. We're having discussions about the counting team on Sundays. And so we're getting everything in place, which is really cool. And so I'm really excited about that. But I will say, at this point, there out of the 170 of us in the South Orange County Church, 12 of us have actually signed up.
Come on, we got the 12 disciples.
We got the 12 disciples, but it might take a little bit.
Small service. 12 of us.
It might take a little more than just 12 of us. So I am asking you to go, okay, how can I help, and what can I do? And I'm asking all of us to do this. I'm also asking you to be aware of what just came up in your heart as I'm asking you to do that. So if you find yourself rolling your eyes or going, that's ridiculous, I'm not doing that, then that's a great opportunity for you to be able to take that to God and work that through and deal with that. But what I'm hoping for is that there will be a lot of us that can go, hey, this is my church, and I'm going to help to make it great. And so many of you do have that attitude, and I know there's probably people who are like, oh yeah, I remember that email. I was going to talk about it with my husband, and then I forgot, and then somebody had to go out of town, or we were out of town. And I didn't, wait, there was an email? Wait, do you send emails? I didn't even know that. Can I get on the email list?
Come on, SOC. We can do this.
So we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So I'm hoping that in this next week, maybe I'll resend the email so that that you can see it again, and then that way it'll be easy for you to go on and say, hey, yeah, I would love to be a part of one of these teams.
It is a fabulous email, I must say. It just says, click here.
That's right.
Click. I love clickable emails.
Clickable emails are good.
Very good.
So that is everything that we got for you this week. If you do want to be a part of what is going on here, and maybe somebody sent you this video, you can send us an email. Our email address is socchurch@occhurchofchrist.com. That's socchurch@occhurchofchrist.com, and we will get back to you, and we'll take it from there.
Love to have you.
That'll be awesome. All right, so that's it. Remember, next week, no Connect video, but we will see you at the building, and then we'll be back the week after that. All right, love you guys.